Hello. I haven't posted anything in a while. Sometime in November. I think it's the 10th or 11th or 13th or something. And I just got in from walking. And this blue dress that the king bought me. I spent nothing on it. He sent it to me. I'm suffering away from him. He knows. I know there's some purpose to it, but it hurts. I've already died, been resurrected from the dead, been tortured for years and years, and worked so very hard. And suffered and suffered and suffered. Right now, things are still staring at me that shouldn't be able to see into my house. Yet they are, and angels arrive to gawk at me when I bathe and things like that, which shouldn't be. It's not an angelic behavior, and it's surprising to me and to many. I have excruciating pain in my hips. I'm told they are reopening as though I'm an adolescent to more easily bear the next child I'm going to bear physically, which will be conceived naturally. And my body is strengthening to do this. My lower spine wobbles around to let my hips open, but it's very uncomfortable. And my thighs continually ache. Many of my creatures that the Lord God made me live in their own lands outside of heaven, and they can come into heaven, these good and righteous creatures, briefly, at least to the town I'm in, to serve in ways that they are excellent at, that heaven. They're wonderful, and they've been with me in war. They can get me food in places I'm starved. They can bring me food from other worlds, their worlds. It's wonderful and delicious stuff. They can bring me heaven's food remotely. And they could do this while I was confined, smuggling it into me. My cherubs are here and approach me, but are not manifest, yet they're perceptible. And they decorate things for me. The bastard living here illegally in this house, claiming to be Cliff, continues to torture me. And humiliate me, and has not returned my car keys, which means I have not seen people, real people here, since I was, except a few. Sometimes I see them. I've seen my children, they're real. Since I was captured illegally by demons who manifested pretending to be police. And carried me away, changing an aspect continually, and an appearance and in clothing, and their name tags suddenly wrote names on it when I commented on it, and the leather of their boots changed when I commented on it, and so on. Things like that. While I was taken to a false hospital, and tortured, and poisoned, and they tried to murder me, or make me leave and be carried away to who knows where, with a demon in the shape of my late husband, only he actually isn't. He looks nothing like my late husband. And he kept coming back, and I refused to leave with him. But the hospital itself smuggled me home. They never admitted me. They never medicated me. And in fact, they took me off of most of my medications without my being admitted, by denying them to me, and me figuring out that I don't need them. I'm better without them. I'm stronger without them, though they're supposed to make me stronger. My disease is healed and was healed at my resurrection. But my city is falling apart around me here. And I don't know why. Because the Lord God, his plan was this, and he did it. The city, after the world was going to end, and he saw that the world was going to end, and saw my suffering, and that my husband was murdered, and that I was unhappy. He began planting out my city with beautiful, strange trees, and the surrounding cities all around, okay, changing the expressways, changing the lakes, cleaning the things, making them beautiful. He sent rain when I asked for it to replenish the waters. The weather changed. My house was better insulated. The air conditioner was fixed. All of this was hidden. The heater was fixed. That was not hidden, but it was fixed in a way that was hidden. He brought in rare flowers from all over the place that were not original to earth, and delivered them to me continually. He rescented some flowers and others he left unscented. I have not smelled a scented iris in years, and I would love to. The purple and yellow ones, I love them. But he retrofitted basically the city and preserved the places that were special to me as a child, and made a historic museum in the city for people who were touring through, and fitted out the library and filled it up with wonderful books, and did this in a lot of areas, but my town saw more of this than most of these cities. Most of these cities around saw less care, though the places I loved in them remained, and a lot of the parks remained, but were fitted out in better ways. And he continued this work for a period of all the years I was studying with Michael, and also being attacked by Michael, and raped and tortured, not knowing that my husband had been killed by Michael, or I never would have countenanced him or talked to him again, of course, but would have told everyone. Many things remember that he had my favor originally, but he lost it, of course, after I found out what he was doing in secret. Though I loved him, and he loved me wildly. Anyway. So my city was fitted out. And one of the places in my city that I loved as a child was called Vicon Village. It was a flea market. I liked it. It had vintage flooring from the 60s or even 50s, maybe 70s, I don't know. It was old linoleum. It was chipping away in places. It was a cheap place. Had a little cafe with cheap food. I used to go there a lot with Sebastian's father when we were married, before he died. And left me. He left me before he died. That was him who did that. Left both of us while we pined and grieved. But that was one of the places we went to almost every weekend for pleasure. It was like a giant garage sale with lots and lots of wonderful things, and records, and music boxes, and it was romantic and fun. There was a jeweler there, inexpensive, who was excellent. Anyway, I went there looking for a ring box, which they used to have carven, beautiful brass and carven and bone ring boxes. I went there yesterday. It is completely decayed. It was Saturday. It was supposed to be open. The stores were full. The gates were closed. No one was there. Almost. A few people. And they were demonic manifestations or something. They looked completely weird and plastic. And many cried out for the place to be torn down, singing the witchcraft. But that is not what that place is. That place was not that. And I'm seeing all around me things like this, and they're trying to make you tear this city to smithereens, saying, oh, it's defiled, it's defiled, it's the only way to get rid of them, we'll have to drop the city. This is not God's plan for this city. It is Garland, I am Venus. It is a garland of Venus. The king delighted in the pun, and he carried away the entire city, and he had me live in it. Well, I had no idea who I was my whole childhood. My dad called Garland the armpit of the universe, but it was excellent at the time that he said it. So, and even when, I can't tell you, I mean, over the last years, it has become a prominent city. It was in the top 100 cities to live in the United States, being fitted out with wonderful parks and inexpensive living and good medicine, and it had excellent roads. It had a wonderful downtown shopping area and a coffee shop and a brewery and a wonderful vintage clothing shop full of antique things. Well, vintage things within the last 100 years, about mostly within the last probably 70. Which is one of my favorite places. The king fitted it out for me to be a wonderful place to be. There's a furniture store that was fitted out with furniture I'd like, and I like walking through furniture stores and pretending they're all my living rooms and so on. The furniture store is now full of cheap junk, and it's half the size it was. The downtown area lost, it's a square, it's called Garland Square. It lost one whole side of buildings, and now it is no longer a square and still called the downtown square. The trees changed the last time I was there to trash trees. They were old oaks, gorgeous old oaks. They're suddenly gone, and there are old growth, cheap junk trees there. You might look into that. There's also patching going on the roads here with asphalt. Now, patches have been done in asphalt, but they tried to repave an entire road with cheap asphalt instead of doing the good concrete that this place has, which is excellent concrete and helpful to walk on. And wonderful, and it emanates wonderfulness. But the asphalt stinks, and in the summer in this area, sometimes it gets over 106 or 108 or 110. It's been 111. It melts, and it flings up on the cars. And then there's asphalt streaked across the cars, as well as little rocks chipping the paint. This is not an area for asphalt, nor is that an excellent solution for the Queen City. The bitch posing as my late mother, who's dead, and looks nothing like her. Those who have seen her know this. Pretends to be on the city council and claims authority to make these changes. In the past, she's changed to be like High Queen over me. She hasn't actually changed. She's claimed to be this. And no, and my natural mother was not either. She was my natural mother. And that's all, my natural human mother. She had no title. And not a secret one. Nothing like that. And she would be appalled to see what this bitch is doing. And that she's disgusting. And this man posing as my father spies on me supernaturally sometimes. And while I was in bed recently spoke to me distantly. If you don't think that's creepy. But see, they've been doing this kind of thing for a long time, but it stopped. And those died, of course. But these things are claiming to be like them. So I've made the following order. If they want to pull up old dead things and pretend to be them, these garbage manifestations, then their fate is death, like the one that they're imitating. And so, may that be so. I order that and enact it now. And enter it, and perfect it, and update it. And hopefully that will show up. Something is going on to make the city dissolve around me, and to make people hate it and not want to come here. The food has turned terrible. The food here was excellent. We had some of the best food in the city. The restaurants are mostly gross. They're saying, oh, you liked it, so we ruined it. Okay. the different kitschy places here, a lot of them were restored by the king, like Beef House and things like that, which is a smoke-filled diner full of questionable pancakes and so on. But it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. And the waitresses are fun and so on. Okay, but things have gotten really weird and attacked. And they're saying it's defiled, torch the city. Okay, and some of you, I think, have said that too. I don't know why I'm still here. I will tell you this. The moon came up when I made love to Comfort, the angel. She looked, she was not a full moon, which she should have been at that point. But my joy was incomplete in this because I had to touch the disgusting aspect of this being pretending to be my dead husband, which, to touch Comfort, because he was not allowed to manifest to me, though I would have preferred that and the moon would have been full. But since then, seeing my sorrow, the moon got very strange. She looked, her radiance was checked. She mourned for the son of earth, as I mourned for the son of earth, which was beautiful and healing, though many said it caused cancer and so on. It radiated vitamin D, and I mean, it's just a wonderful sun. But I'm told there's a sun here, but the sun I see here is cold and doesn't radiate good things like the son of earth did. And the stars, which when I arrived were multicolored and many, and marked out with the marking on my breast as I passed through. The king has marked me with stars on my breast. And in fact, the other stars, my breast itself is marked with freckles and the pattern of a universe. But these he marked me with before taking me to Corpus Christi to see his conjunction of Regulus and Venus, which was bright, while a demon ravened in the shape of my late husband and tried to distract me from the joy of it, and succeeded. I was infuriated and wasn't allowed to stand there peaceful. These things don't want me to have a peaceful mind. So when I'm having joy, somehow they have an alert, or something is set up in such a way that they tried to diminish the joy. For the pleasure of diminishing the joy, I believe. I don't know any other reason. Many have slandered me and said I ended the world. I did not end the world. Michael ended. Michael so defiled the world with his filth, making whores of honest women through torture, and feeding them pleasure feelings of this, and feelings of independence and authority, and whatever he had to do to turn a righteous woman into a whoring slave, willing to sleep with people for pay. He did. I never did. But these women, I do not blame them. I do blame the ones who slept with the manifestation pretending to be my late husband. And those have been destroyed. Many of them are in the shape of my friends. But there's a lot of people who believe that these are the actual people, that they were just put under sorcery, that I should have saved them from the sorcery instead of having them killed as the demons they were. But they were demons. They were not my friends. They did have access to a lot of their memories, but strangely, the people around me suddenly became, it was like the whole world got Alzheimer's, because I made a ruling that they would forget pertinent information if they wanted to attack me. And suddenly the world had Alzheimer's. I'm talking about those people masquerading as my parents and so on. So then they attacked my sons to make them seem to have memory issues. They attacked their memories. They attacked my memory. I can remember all things. Nothing was altered within me, but my access to my memories they tried to block through some kind of change. And then they said, you're no better than us, you're one of us, blah, 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 blah. But these things, claiming to be my friends, had completely forgotten, like they were my friend one day and totally normal, and then the next day They were talking in metaphor only. They were pretending to have all kinds of secret sorcery knowledge that, and they all wanted me to agree to let them sleep with my husband. And powers rose up then, claiming to be the actual church. They called themselves the White House, unassociated with the government. And they said that Christ was king over them and that they loved Christ and so on. They made a Christ robot that went around screwing people and dishonoring him, yet having power. So I killed him after making him kneel to me to show this is not Christ. This is not Christ. This is a robot. And I destroyed him. And they honored me, saying, oh, Christ kneels to her. She must be a higher power than Christ, and so on, which at the time saved people. But it tortured me because it's not the truth, of course, and I hated it. I was told by Michael that I should sleep with him without marriage, and when I refused to do this, telling him, feeling no soul really in the man I was with, I told him that I would kiss him only, and I invited him to kiss me in a special park laid out that I loved for romance. I wanted to have a picnic with him and talk. And then I wanted to marry him and run away. He was infuriated because he could not seduce me. So he infiltrated, he had already infiltrated my bed at that point. And murdered my husband and had made like a demonic manifestation flesh body that was not my husband's body, had alterations, and arrived in it. He could enter it and rape me in his guise because I didn't know he was dead. They kept hiding from my mind that my husband's dead. I'd realize it. And then I think he's a lying, cheating bastard and not dead. And I can't explain the amount of terrible things they did to make this believable. Anyway, God has carried me away from there and ended that world because by then there were so many of the demonic human-seeming bodies, and many of them had taken authority over the earth and were in rulership positions as they were uploading memories from other people to seem believable, but they were not. So then they just killed off everybody who saw through them. Many of you are here now, and I'm grateful to be near where real people are. But this city has no real people in it that I can find, except when my sons come in. And I'm promised that I'll go to safety and to the king and dwell with him in the palace. And yet he does not arrive to carry me away. The stars, he says he's bringing them. The stars of earth, too. They are not here yet. The clouds cover the sky. I go out and perform sacred things. Today, I gathered normal acorns that had been washed far, far, far from the tree they're from. They represented children swept away from their parents and placed in remote places and tortured. And I found them all there hidden where they had drifted. And I gathered up the nuts, which each one represented the soul of a child and the child. And I carried them home in my arms, and I asked the king to gather them. And he will gather them, and these are not beings I've made, these are his that were harmed. But I found them and saw their souls and loved them and carried them away, and they will come home now instead of being tortured continually as my poor sons were, swept away from me. But this city is a gorgeous city that God fitted out, and the surrounding cities are pleasure cities as well, to visit and enjoy, with many wonderful things in them. Good and true things and wise things and many things of mine. Parks I love and so on. And I've marked out this city and the surrounding cities and so on for repair. And this is the king's will, that it be repaired perfectly. And that if the place is to be run down and ratty, we don't fit it out in gold and so on, because the joy is it's kitschy and cool and simple. And some of these houses in this area, we're going to leave them simple and plain. And it will be a simple and plain place where it should be, and it'll be a fancy place where it should be. And that is my desire for the place. But as many of you as can advocate for me, I have no way to travel right now. This being here continually tells me to put back on my wedding ring from my marriage in 2006 and to claim that he is my late husband, and that everything will turn back, the earth will be restored by doing that. But what would actually happen at that point is the earth would seem to be restored while demons become more believably human around me. And that is not my will. And that is not my joy. And I do not enjoy sleeping with this man at all. And hate him. I believe he's surviving. He's disgusting. He has no soul in him. He feels hollow. I hate him. And he's mean. And then he's nice. And then he's mean.